5. And we welcome you all, and thank you for being here. And yeah, interesting things that we're going to talk about. And one is visions earlier today, and how to explain it all. Maybe not quite sure, but we're going to share that with you, as we were told to share about everything. And so we share about everything, not quite everything if it gets too personal. So that does happen. And then we also received our insights today, which we will share with you. So yeah, a lot more happening on this world, and just very, very interesting times that we all volunteered to be a part of in this juncture of what we call space-time. Okay. Any words of wisdom to start out with, Ms. Royce?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. She has lots of words to word. I can't. Whoa. Words of wisdom. Okay. I think I'm here. Maybe not. That's funny, because one of my notes I wanted you to talk about is unrestricted realization. So, my voice is unrestricted right now. Anyway, we have fun. We have a lot of fun with what we do. And even though what we're doing is what I term pretty serious work, but it's not even work, but it's a word that we use. And so this time of our lives is absolutely phenomenal. We're seeing so many changes going on, even though we jump time and space. We have talked about this in previous podcasts. So, what does that mean, jumping time and space? Is that time and space is not what we think it is.
Yes, non-linear.
Yeah.
And in our day-to-day living, we see it as being linear. That's how we keep our schedules. but it's everything but linear.
Let that sink in. Or not. But you know what? It's, we know it's there. However, we still live on a linear timeline, because otherwise I think we would get too jumbled.
Or that's how we've restricted ourselves into thinking.
Okay. Yeah. We have, and no, I mean that means a lot.
We get really trippy with each other.
Yeah.
It's like we push the boundary of how far we can go, and because if you don't push your own consciousness, you can get stagnated, and we don't dig that scene.
Yeah, we're not stagnant whatsoever. So we're like, a lot of times it's what now instead of what, So like, okay, so this happened. So, all right, you ready to get into it?
Sure.
Okay. I got to go back to my notes, so hang in there. Just some of the things that were coming forth earlier today. Let me start over again on this whole thing. So, who are we and why are we here? And that is to share our insights. So that we feel there's so much more to our lives than just, we call these physical lives, and to even understand our physical lives that are now here on earth at this time. And so, we came into this lifetime to, I know Royce and I, to share this, to understand it for ourselves, of course, but our own growth, and also to share with you all. And so that's what we're doing here. We feel that we are moving into a new paradigm. We are moving into new understandings. And I don't think anybody can really deny that's on the earth plane, because of all the things that have been going on. And so now we're recognizing it, we're a part of it, and then we're going with, I couldn't say going with the flow, but it's even more than that, because it is our consciousness working together to create the new reality. Would you like to add to that, please?
Well, I was just thinking about, consciously what we've come to understand about ourselves, like you and I, what we understand about ourselves as individuals here, beings who chose to come here because we have realized some parts of the jobs that we're doing while we're here to help humanity, to help the earth. So we have conscious awareness of that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just what we have an understanding of, and it keeps expanding. So we're quite immense beings, and that's you can't put it in a basket.
We all are very powerful beings. So understand that the best you can. And I feel that as we move further into what we call the ascension process, that we will start seeing that more within ourselves. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So it's like get over ourselves. And you can't speak clearly, like I couldn't at the beginning of this episode. It's okay.
But that served as a tool to get us focused in,
Yeah.
So everything has meaning.
Doesn't mean we have to analyze or analyze everything that we do. But sometimes like, why did that happen? It's like, and then you start wondering, what does this have to do with my life? And then you start understanding further on. And one of the words that came forth today is adaptability. And do you remember what you said about that? I wrote it down.
What did you write?
All right. She says it's the evolution of the species.
Yeah, that without us being adaptable, there would be no species because it's like hitting a brick wall. If you can't adapt, if you can't go with the flow and expand and keep on moving on, then you've hit a brick wall and you go nowhere. And eventually the species will just fizzle out.
Because it can't. And that
goes against the laws of nature.
Yeah. If you want to call it, yeah. Really, that's what our messages, our insights are all about, and which we'll share in just a bit. But we want to share some of our visions. But I'm going to go back to the adaptability because for me, and this has been happening for a few months, where I'll have something planned for the day or the week or whatever it may be, and it's like, okay, I'm going to get this done, blah 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 blah. So, and all of a sudden something else is thrown in, or I can't meet with somebody, whatever it may be, and it throws everything off. And you're like, huh. I mean, that's my reaction. Huh? What are you going to do about it now? and so you adapt with those changes and then make it work for you. At least that's happened with me. Instead of getting so uptight because it didn't happen the way you thought it was going to happen, or the way that you think you designed it to happen. And so, in fact, I did. Last week, I was a friend of mine, and I drove up to Reading, Pennsylvania. On the way there, we hit a shredded tire on the highway, right in the middle of the lane I was in. And so, in a split second, I could go right or left, go around it. And the car in front of me swerved and made it. Then I saw this, and I went, oh no. And so out of my peripheral view, I could see a car on the left, and then I had a guardrail on the right. So I chose what I thought was the path of least resistance. So I went right over the center of it, so not to hit the tire, because it was huge. It was sticking up about 30 inches. I didn't want to flip the car. You don't know, or break a tire, whatever it may be. And so, I kind of damaged the car. But it was fixed, and I knew it was going to be fixed that day, and it was, and we were off on the road a few hours the next day, actually. So, but you know what? You adapt, and it still worked out. Yes, we had a hold up on our trip. It's like, okay, it's like I could hear myself saying, what you going to do about this? And tried to maintain my
Composure.
composure. You're a little emotional, not emotional, but you're a little, it's like a little bit of anxiety going on. Okay, the house is going to work, with, the towing company, the insurance, the this, the that, that all goes into it. But it all worked out just fine. And I just watched it play out. And obviously you're in the middle of it, but don't get totally so upset like some people would. And it worked out just fine. My friend was just fine. She was calm and through the whole thing.
I just thought of something.
Okay.
Last time we talked about, well, I had a realization while you were talking, and it was about applying the space between, atoms, mostly space. So what we think is something hard is mostly space. So if we apply that to ourselves, like emotions pull us in, and they kind of lock things down. But if we can apply that we're mostly space, and that might, just thinking about that might help us to loosen up our grip. It's like people say, get a grip. Well, we want to loosen up our grip in a situation like that. So it helps the emotions to just wash on through, and so we can just be in the flow and get on with whatever it is that we need to do to take care of things.
And we always say we have help, which we do.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of it's you, but the higher self you, the God self you, your guides, etc. To me, it's all much the same, and it's like, okay, this is going to be taken care of, and so you put that out. You can, whatever name you want to call it, and it works out. Yeah. So, in whatever way, so you adapt.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, then, well, what are you going to do about that?
Well, even what does that mean?
It forces you to just let go.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to wait.
Yeah. How much patience do we all have?
Yeah.
So it says, you ask for patience.
And that wait might keep you out of a horrible accident on further up the road.
Exactly.
We just never know how things like that are going to work out.
Exactly. So, just go on, And that's what's happening now with all the changes that are going on, and which I'll get into in just a bit. And you have some wonderful things to share also. But prior to that, one of the visions, as we were talking, Royce and I were talking this morning, she'll be talking about something, and then these visions just come flooding in. I'm like, okay. And I think we were talking about AI, basically. And all of a sudden, I was seeing a large metal, metal, ball. I mean, it was a few, I don't know how big it was, a few feet diameter. And I realized that was in Atlantis. So I don't know if anybody that studies a lot about Atlantis or memories of Atlantis. So if you do, speak up, please. Because I was seeing this large ball, and excuse me, and this large AI ball. I call it AI because they were using, I felt the Atlanteans were using AI, hence their demise. I think it got to be too much of a scientific versus using their heartfelt on many of their activities. But anyway, I saw that metal ball crack. It was just, it didn't shatter, but it cracked. And I thought, and thinking, oh, that was the end of that AI, and they couldn't rely on it anymore. And that was part of the downfall of Atlantis. So this is something new to me, and I'm putting it out there because it's what I was seeing. So, and you had a comment on that.
Well, with the little bit that I understand AI, um,
That's
applying momentum to AI when it gets to like a critical point, the momentum is like so beyond the speed of light, it's not even funny. So the laws of exponentials comes into play, and it's like the exponential becomes exponential and then exponential, and so it can't be contained. So we need to keep that in mind with how we proceed further with AI. AI can be a wonderful thing to aid us, um, but we need to proceed with caution so that it doesn't get ahead of us.
like it did at one time in
Yes.
Atlantis. And the ball couldn't hold that exponentials, which word you were using, and it cracked. It's like, whoa. So was an interesting vision, and where in Atlantis, I didn't get that, but I could see it, and I knew it was Atlantis. So it's just this inner knowing, because I know I've had lives on Atlantis because I've seen some of them. Excuse me. And I know I was in the healthcare field, in the frequency field, because I've seen myself do that. It's been a few years, but it's been, I think probably a few lifetimes in Atlantis, because it was quite a civilization. Now, the next vision I had, I went, whoa, and I'm going to try to explain this the best I can. So jump in, because it's like, you see it clearly at the time you're explaining it. Then I'm going back. This is earlier today. I'm like, okay, how did I see that? Like you're inside my head. But anyway, I think I'm supposed to talk about it. Excuse me. I was actually looking at the earth, and my attention was drawn there. And the upper crust of the earth, I'm like, wow, the upper crust of the earth.
So the outer crust.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Just a minute, I lost the word. It was an interface with AI. I went, I'm kind of like, what?
Like a merging of biologic and
yes,
and AI.
Yes,
Artificial.
Yeah, I think I used the word that it's biologic or organic. So it was coming to me, and I was like, huh. So that was the first time I've ever seen anything like that or heard. So sometimes you start giving this information out because of what you've seen, and then other people start talking about it. So we'll see. It's just something new to me, but it came into my awareness. So I saw the outer crust, upper crust, outer crust. It cracked. It didn't shatter, but I could see cracks in it. And I'm looking at Royce. I said, "Doesn't this mean earthquakes, right? Or volcanic activity?" So I think that's exactly what's going on with the what do you call those?
Fault lines.
Fault lines, yeah. Which I guess would be the same thing as a fault line, right? So I could see a little more cracking, and then I knew that some of the ocean waters, get over here, it's like the land would rise and the water would go underneath, so it was like even displacement, and so I didn't see that much damage, if you want to call it as such, over our current lands. I mean, I think some of it's going to happen. But I could see the movement of plates or the cracking, and as water would go down, some of the land would rise. So it was just an interesting vision, that I never had realized that the upper crust or the top crust was interfaced with AI. I thought, huh. So there's probably a little more scientific view of that, and it may be out there. So if anybody listening that knows a little bit more about that, please speak up. And if you do have some other video that will explain it, just post that if you would in the comments. So we appreciate that. So any more you want to speak on that one?
Well, I just thought that was interesting that you saw the land go up and the water go underneath, so that would kind of thwart tsunami activity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be calmer.
Because you said, well, it means that the land would be floating. I said, well, from what I understand, the Western United States has a huge ocean underneath it, or lake, ocean, or sea, and that submarines can go under that land, I think, into the Salt Lake. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just going by.
But they have
memory.
Discovered a huge ocean.
Yeah. So,
but they might refer to it as a sea. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, just interesting because the Earth is changing. All right. We're going to get on to our insights, and if you have any questions and any comments before we go on, we'll try to answer them the best we can. So nothing yet. All right. Thank you. All right. You ready to go?
Sure.
My insight, as usual, I'm going to start, and then Royce will follow up with her insight today. All right. In the unforeseen days, indeed, will find yourselves adapting to a new world. The changes that are now being put forth may have a profound impact to many people on Earth. Some of you may be saying, finally, while others will be saying, what? Many of you may be challenged to adapt to the new world. Yet remember, you are in this all together. And just a moment. And the more you adapt to a kinder world, the easier it will be to relax into the new paradigm. The structure of society is making huge changes as you usher in the time of post-tribulation. Note, this time of tribulation is almost at its end. A new day is dawning, a new way of doing things, a new way of perceiving life and living life. Yeah. There will be more open communication with the star people. And we've mentioned this numerous times, and we've talked to a lot of the star people and then have shared that with you in previous episodes. So this we know, but it'll be more open, and I think visually also. I think it's coming soon. Some people are saying June, as in real soon, June 2025.
In a more
We'll see.
open way.
Yes. So we'll see. There is open communication. It's my understanding some of these star beings have made their way into some of our military bases and things like that. So I think it's already happening, but we don't have video of it yet that I know of.
Yeah,
Put it that way.
We just need to get our heads out of the dark ages.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And another bullet point was history redefined. Especially when the star people start showing up, we're going to find the true history of Earth. Hopefully. Okay, and the appreciation of Earth and her many resources, because this Earth is incredible. There'll be an exchange of goods and services. It's going to be through another means, and it's going to be more of a barter situation. So our whole monetary system is changing. And I think a lot of you know that already. All right. So to hold on to the old ways of doing things, such as machinery, the use of religion, interesting word, travel on and off Earth, food growth and preparation are soon coming to an end. Your magnificence of your true identity will soon be apparent. Relax, good times ahead. So that's basically it. A little, I did get a little bit more information on the foods. They said mentioned hydroponics, which I've known about for quite a while, and then something about organic farming, and there's changes being made in organic farming, and I don't know what those particulars are right now, but I could see that happening. It might be cleaning up some of our soils and the old fertilizers that are stopping the natural growth of and what's in our soils. That's what I'm thinking. All right, machinery, added use of robotics. To me, it's already happening now. Religion, controls being lifted. That doesn't mean the controls that religion have put on people will be lifted. That doesn't mean that spirituality is going to go away. I don't see that. And then the word travel, and I got the word hyperspace. So it's another way of traveling through space. So it's going to be pretty interesting.
Mhm.
All right.
You know, the hydroponics, in case you aren't aware of that term, that's growing things in water, a water solution.
Yeah.
So, and you know, that they used to rotate crops.
Yeah.
They would plow the other crop under so that that crop decaying actually became natural fertilizer,
Yeah.
for whatever was going to be planted. And they would let the fields rest, so they would rotate fields. So things used to be done a whole lot more natural, and there wasn't a need for added fertilizers. When you start using fertilizers, you just have to use more fertilizers the next year, and on and on and on. You know, it becomes crazy.
Yeah, because we're depleting the soils by understanding of the naturalness of the nutrients. So, you know, how that's going to change over, I don't know, unless it's just going to be kind of slow, as we know time, a slow change until we get more nutrients into our growing, what we grow.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about something that you sent me the link of people somewhere that all they had was like a brick patio or whatever it was, and they used that to plant seeds in. They just kind of scraped out the dirt in between the bricks and planted seeds, you know, every so often. And the fruit and vegetable that was being produced with that was incredible. These huge radishes growing above the bricks. So the roots went down in there, and everything else was above ground. It was amazing.
It was, and we're talking about a 1/2 inch space.
Yeah,
maybe 3/4, and that was it. Yeah, and the radish is a root, but the bottom root was into the ground, and I mean the produce out of there was just beautiful.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So the ingenuity that people are using their noodles. They're becoming adaptable. So
there we go. I think we may have to call this episode adaptability.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, please share.
Okay, I will. Some will say it is to be a momentous day. And what does that really mean? Momentous can be something grand and worthy of note, or something that sticks out. And it can also be something in the process of being created. As in, when you have your focus and presence anchored in